It is always my pleasure to speak to one of the greatest middleweights of all time. He returns to action UFC Saudi Arabia in Riyadh in just a matter of days. Israel Adesanya. Israel, how are you?
I'm very well, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. Thank you for taking a little time for me. Obviously, fight is just around the corner. For some reason, I had it in my head that Saudi Arabia and New Zealand weren't that far apart in time, but they really are far apart in time. I was like, man, maybe this won't be as bad, but it actually is way different in time. So I was totally wrong.
Yeah, very, very far apart, but I've been there a few times, so it's nothing new to me.
How I know you talked about this on your YouTube channel. You were into it. You were happy to go to Saudi Arabia. You didn't really take offense to being on a fight night card. So, what was your initial reaction when you got that date, that location, and that opponent?
I was excited. I've never fought in Saudi Arabia. I've been to a few fights out there, few historic and monumental fights. But yeah, I was excited, and I am excited to head out there and feel the energy I felt in the crowd, but be on the other side this time.
Obviously, this is still a 5 round fight, but I think I think you did an interview with an Australian outlet, and this is the first time in 12 fights where a title hasn't been on the line, but it's still a 5 round main event, obviously, so still there. Does it feel that different? I mean, because I know you made a big emphasis, at least if I'm not mistaken, on just going out and having fun, like just going and having fun again.
Yeah, definitely. Not really. There's not really pressure. I put pressure on myself, when I get out there, or when I get out to Saudi Arabia. But when it comes down to the fight itself, I don't feel too much pressure because there's no belt on the line. But again, it just in the same breath, it feels like a title fight because you're fighting me, and it's 5 rounds, and I still train for 5 rounds. So yeah, not really much has changed in that aspect.
Can I ask, what is your relationship, coming into this fight, towards the title? Because as I mentioned, you are one of the greatest middleweights of all time. You're one of the greatest middleweight champions of all time. But I know the title it's always going to be present because of who you are. But what is your relationship with it right now in terms of is it something you're like, man, I got to get back there? Is it something like, well, hey, if it happens, it happens? What is your relationship towards the title now?
Same as I've always had. I never really chased the belt. I always knew it would come around. I knew it would with what I was going to do in the game. I knew it was going to keep coming around. So again, now I just plan on keep winning and it'll circle back. I'm not chasing the belt, but the belt chases me.
Absolutely. Israel, you kind of gave us all a feel-good story. You talked about the toxicity in the sport. It's true. We do kind of focus on the negative way too much, and I hate it, but it's true. But you kind of gave us the feel-good story these last couple of weeks was showing you and Robert Whittaker training together. I saw Robert had kind of came out today and talked about how that all came together. His coach suggested it, and they reached out to Eugene and said, what do you think? So when I assume Eugene came to you at the idea and said, hey, what do you think? So what was your initial reaction when he said, hey, Robert Whittaker wants to come out and train with us?
Yeah, I was excited. I said, fuck yeah. He can pull up anytime. And then I didn't know what day he was coming. So when I saw him at the gym on a Monday, I was ecstatic and I was hyped. So yeah, that was a moment for the MMA world or for us in general, just something to feel good about. Everyone like this.
Yeah, and listen, you guys had a professional rivalry. Maybe I'm wrong, but I never felt like you guys had any kind of intense personal bad blood or anything. It was all about the competition. But what was it like just being in the room with him? Because you had spent a long time training to fight him. You obviously beat him and won the title, and then of course you did the rematch as well. But now actually going in there and learning from each other, that's a different aspect.
Yeah, definitely, and having a guy with his skill set, his experience, a new body, new energy at this stage in your career, it's always nice. So, and like he said as well, not many people can understand what we've done to get to the point that we had. So yeah, I was really excited to have him pull up and just share energy with me, with the whole team.
And I think Robert said it right after, you guys put the video out there. He said, this kind of ends any chance we'd ever fight each other. I don't fight my brothers or I don't fight my friends. However, he said, I don't want to misquote him. Not that you and Robert were on a collision course or anything like that, but would you say that now you and him have become friendly enough to where it's like, yeah, you'd like to work with him. It's no longer about that professional rivalry.
Yeah, 100%. Anzac United. I'd rather build with him and build together and get the next generation ready to take on the world. So we can still say Anzac United.
Yeah, and I know that you did. I know he wasn't out there for like 6 months or anything crazy like that, but you're getting ready to fight a guy who is a striker, kickboxer, somewhat in a similar fashion of a guy like a Robert Whittaker. So even the days you spend together, I imagine that is absolutely, I mean, you can't be around a guy of that caliber and not feel like it's beneficial, right?
Of course, like even if he didn't train with me, having him around would have been beneficial to this camp because of the energy he brings. But training with him, hanging out with him, moving with him, definitely, I picked his brain and we just shared a few ideas. But I can't wait till because I'll go over there and do the same thing, and we'll over the next few years we'll be linking up a few more times.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Like, I love the video you put out there and just said, like, now, like, it's going to be a relationship where you can continue to build and grow from this, right? Like, obviously, he was out there for just a little while to help you, but I'm sure when he gets his next fight booked, you'll do the same, and then obviously you'll have another fight. So you feel like this is going to be a longer term, friendship, partnership.
Yeah, definitely for the foreseeable future, definitely, and as it should be, because we're on this side of the world building. We've done so much for the game on this side of the world as Anzacs. And again, together we are stronger. So I'd rather build with him and us get the next generation ready and, take on the world together.
Yeah, I was watching your YouTube video today where you were with Robert talking about it, and I was looking at the comments. I don't know how much you look at the comments because I try to avoid the comments, if I'm being honest, but it was like right away I saw it a bunch of times, and they're like, I wonder if this is going to lead to Izzy eventually training with Poatan, training with Alex Pereira. And it seems like you guys have really, like, again, huge rivalry, intense rivalry, but there was a mutual respect there. Would you ever see a world where you could actually see yourself working with a guy like Alex down the road, not tomorrow, but would that ever happen? Would you ever be interested in that?
Yeah, definitely down the road. Me and Alex, I've already said, like, I got what I wanted from that fight. I think the MMA world just gets greedy and they try and ruin a good thing because they want more, never knowing when to quit. That's why you shouldn't gamble. But yeah, eventually it will. But right now, it's not that time. He lives so far away. The opportunity hasn't arisen. And we still have guys like, Carlos in the trenches working hard, getting ready for his next fight. So he can become a number one contender. So yeah, I'll always respect Poatan. He's a guy that we already understood this and we've already shared this with each other. So yeah, it'll happen one day, but it's who knows when.
Yeah, absolutely. Now to that point, you fought everybody. I mean, you've never, you like from the day you showed up in the UFC, all your championship, all your title defenses, everything you've done, you fought everybody. Can I ask, like, how much were you familiar with, or did you know the name of Nasruddin Imavov when you got that name?
I knew who he was. I didn't really know his style. Oh no, sorry. I knew who he was. I didn't really know his like I didn't really know too much about him, but I knew who he was. I liked the style. But yeah, now we're here. We're gonna fight, and he's on the way up. So I gotta send him back down.
Yeah, I remember years ago we did an interview and you had said, this is going back like 4 or 5 years. I remember you always told me Jared Cannonier was the dark horse in the division. You're like, that guy's going to make waves. He's going to get there. And he did. He eventually got there and fought you for the title.
Yeah.
This is a huge step for Imavov. I mean, again, nothing against Brendan Allen, nothing against Roman Dolidze, certainly nothing against those guys, but this is a massive step up from the competition he's faced. So I'm curious, do you put Imavov in that same bucket, so to speak, as a guy like a Cannonier, or do you feel like this is a huge step up for him because he hasn't, like, the guys he's fought have been in that lower part of the top 10. He hasn't fought those top 2 or 3 guys in the world. You are obviously the first of those guys he's fought.
Yeah, I mean, on the way up, when I was coming up, I had guys who were at the top that I had to fight to get my chance, and they gave me my shot. So now I'm in this point of my career. I have to give him a chance. So yeah, he gets to fight Israel Adesanya, and it's the biggest fight of his life. Can he rise to the occasion? We're yet to find out. My job is to make sure he doesn't. And he's a good fighter. He's slick. He mixes his grappling with his striking well. He's got all right footwork. But this is different, eh? When you get in there with me, it's a lot different. The moment, can get to some people, but I don't know if he'll get to him. before I do.
Yeah. You mentioned, going back to the Whittaker thing, like you mentioned, like the toxicity of this sport, and you're absolutely right. It kills me. I hate it. We are all prisoners of the moment in this sport. When you're on top of the world, you are the greatest thing that's ever happened. You are the best thing since sliced bread. When you deal with a loss, suddenly, oh, well, you were never that good. You were a bum. I hate it. I hate that part of our sport. But obviously, coming off a couple losses, and again, there's no shame in losing to title fights. Those are the best guys in the world. But do you put any expectations on yourself going into this one? Because, again, obviously you want to go out. You go out to win every single time. You went out there to win against Sean Strickland. I know you went out there to win against Dricus. But is there any different feeling in this one? Just because you're like, I know I don't want another loss.
Nah, I'm not thinking like that. I'm just going in there ready to dominate. I'm not thinking I don't want another loss. That's a weird way to frame it, because I'm just thinking of what I don't want, and I'm in that frequency. So I haven't been thinking that. I'm just going to go in there and do what I do my best. And I know what I am when I'm my best.
I don't want to criticize anybody, but I think there are some guys that do have that mindset, right? They're like, I can't lose. So like they fight differently. And I know a big part, as I mentioned earlier, a big part of your
I've had
emphasis,
it before.
like
When I fought Alex in Miami, I had that, like, I have to win. I wasn't saying I can't lose. I was saying I have to win. So again, it's a flip, because you're tapping into that. If I can't lose, I can't lose, I can't lose. Or your brain just recognizes lose, lose, lose. So when I fought Alex for the fucking fourth time, I was just saying to myself, I have to win. I have to win. So I was like, win, win. So I know it's just a different way of looking at things.
Yeah. One thing you've done since you've started doing your YouTube channel is I love your reactions when you're watching the videos and you're watching the fights. So obviously I assume you do keep a pretty close eye on the middleweight division. Do you mind if I ask your opinion? Because obviously 1 week after you fight, we're going to see Dricus and Sean Strickland running back. And I know you and Robert kind of talked about this. I love, by the way, I know this sounds terrible to say, but I think you're absolutely, you said that Dricus is the best shit fighter, which cracked me up because we have this like running joke in the media where like he doesn't do things technically correct, but somehow he finds a way to win. Like it's the weirdest thing with him. So can I ask, I know you mentioned already on your YouTube channel, but can I ask your opinion on that fight? Because again, I mean, obviously that, those are two guys you could eventually run it back with.
Look, I think Dricus is probably going to win that fight. He's great at what he does. The great fighters, I think 90% or 80% follow the rules, and 10 or 20% of the time break the rules. Dricus flipped that shit around. 10% of the time follows the rules of striking, and then the other 90%, he breaks the rules, and he's great. You can't fault him for that. He's so great at it. So yeah, it's working for him. Don't try and like fix it.
Do you, I know like this happens a lot in the sport when guys fight. One guy will say, let's have a agreement. No takedowns. We're only going to strike. And I always kind of laugh because it's like, this is MMA, right? Like obviously you are one of the most elite strikers in the world, but you told me in the past, I want that submission. I want to get that choke. I want to get that submission. When you see Strickland say that, is that ultimately just mind games? Cause like Dricus obviously has a solid ground game. It's almost like, why would you say, I thought it was funny when he said that, like, let's have an agreement. Let's only stand and bang.
That's kind of silly, but I only just heard about it from one of the other interviewers. Silly to say, but I don't think he means it, because Dricus is good at what he does, and he's trying to take that away from him will be, you're not really proving you're the best then.
Yeah. Before I get you out of here, Israel, again, I know you said that the mindset's a little different as, again, having fun, just going in there, and now you're kind of fighting freely. I'm certainly not looking past Nasruddin Imavov in any way, shape, or form, but everything goes well on February 1st. Do you think like map out as far as like what you want 2025 to look like for you? Because I know you said like you're kind of in a free space right now. Like maybe you fight more often, maybe you don't. Like you're in a good spot where you kind of pick and choose what you want to do. So what does an ideal 2025 look like for Israel Adesanya?
And Israel Adesanya 2025 will look like this fight coming off with my hand raised, and I haven't even planned out the rest. So all I'm focused on right now is just getting in there with Imamov, doing work and getting my hand raised. That's where I'm at. After that, I'll deal with it as it comes.
Absolutely. And I know we talked a while back. I said, listen, I know you're focused on your fight career, but one day I want to see you in front of the camera. I talked to you about the guys from Talk to Me, the guys from Australia. They have a new movie coming out. And I talked to them, man, they are such big fan of yours. I still want to see the Israel Adesanya horror movie one day. I got to see that appearance. I want to see that happen.
I'm doing it with the Filippo brothers, definitely. We were in talks to do something, maybe Street Fighter. This is a while ago. But that fucking project fell through. But again, I've turned down so many opportunities when it comes to movie and all that kind of stuff because I want to focus on this. And now with a little bit more free time, maybe, but also video games. Like right now, I was just playing the Black Myth Wukong. I'd love to get into mocap so I can do some shit for the video game world. And it's all going to happen. But right now, got some bodies to take.
Absolutely. Well, Israel, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I really do appreciate the time. Obviously, safe travels over to Saudi Arabia. Best of luck in the fight. And thank you for taking a few minutes for me. I really do appreciate it.
No worries, my man. Thank you.